everybody. Welcome to the next meeting of PACE's Revenue Management Interest Group. We have another great session in store for you today on bundling and unbundling for bottom line boost. Our speakers, our distinguished international panel, back from a great session last time, is Donna, who is a doctoral research scholar at Leiden University, Kim Spolit, who's the regional director for Nordics and Baltics at Clock PMS Plus, and Daniel Burnside, who's principal with Burnside Capital and Parker Mechanical. So with having said that, please take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Rev. And I think we go straight to the point. And I would like to make a simple, stupid example that everybody understands and feels for. So we have a hungry customer that has some money to spend and to make a purchasing decision, and there's a burger, and the selling price of a burger is $8, and the cost of production are $3, so we are aiming for gross profit of $5. So what's wrong? What's wrong is that we all have a certain capacity, and even if it's not constrained by the seating capacity, there's still an X amount of customers around that are popping into the store every day, let's say 100. So what happens when I come to McDonald's and order a burger, then I am offered a menu or a potato or a drink. And what's that about? And then the burger is still $8 and the drink is $4 and the potato is $3. So the message I get as a customer is take the menu. So for the price of $13 and you will save $2. So on the marketer side, we try to motivate the customer and convince that there's some economic value. Yet for us, knowing that we only have the 100 guys who will check in, we try to maximize our earnings. And in this case, we are discounting like $2, but we are still gaining like some bucks more in the gross profit. And in that case, our overheads, they remain unchanged. And so this is an example of bundling approach when we try to maximize the profit per available customer. And often customers is a constrained resource, not the kitchen and not the seating facilities. That said, what happens when the menu price or offer price becomes too high, then we start packaging out all extras. And we try to deliver a message that what we are offering is very cheap. For instance, like splitting that down to the smallest measurement available, like talking about insurance, instead of saying $365 per year, we say it only costs you $1 a day. Or if you rent my truck, you only pay 20 cents per mile, instead of saying it costs $50 per day. Or when we talk about an airline ticket, you just say you only need to pay $6 to get from A to B, while the actual price for the trip is $120 at least. And this packaging out extras is exactly the opposite approach to bundling that we called unbundling. And this is where I'm happy to give the floor to Dan, who's an expert in airline revenue management.
I don't know about expert. Well, this won't be quite as juicy as burgers, but what I think everyone's experienced, if you're in Europe and flown on Ryanair, or if you're in the US and flown on Spirit or Frontier, you've had the ultra low cost carrier experience where you have a low introductory price point because people see the seats as commodities. It's very hard to differentiate one to the other. Everyone says they have brand loyalty, but often when they're searching by price. And so if the price lines up with the time that you want to fly, that's usually the one you go with. And so the way these ultra low cost carriers have become competitive is by parsing out the different portions that they're capable of offering anyways, but making them ancillary revenue streams. So things like priority boarding. Priority boarding didn't matter until you started paying for bags, which were parsed out. Then you wanted to get on early so you could put your carry-ons on. So you pay for those sort of things. Changes, or flexibility in your flight, so you can pay for in advance the option to like maybe change later. They also do things like occasionally you can like get more rewards per purchase per your dollar spent by spending just a little bit more. They also obviously have food and drinks and snacks and meals available for purchase. And then seat selection. You obviously have to have a seat to fly. The FAA does not allow you to stand up to fly. But to get that seat, they can either choose or you can choose, and you're going to get it either way. But it's one way they've kind of unlocked an ancillary revenue stream. So you see this all across. Airlines are like really common industry you see this in, but you see it all across American business, especially, in the travel sector. You think when you rent a car, you're usually shown an introductory price, and then you have, the airport fee or whatever additional fees are added. So any fees that are additional to the advertised price is some form of bundling. And you see this across a lot of industries in the US. One of the things that like makes this work is your cost per passenger usually stays unchanged. Yeah, if you're selling the stack, you have slightly more cost on that, but you're already paying to fly that. And then each added service or product that you sell adds to the bottom line on the same volume. It's kind of the same concept of what we talked about with bundling when you package a meal together. However, you're getting them just kind of one at a time. And some customers like this and are prone to do this. Others are really not. Some people feel nickel and dimed. Other customers who are like seeking the value or maybe know that they don't need all those services are willing to save a buck. Quick example on that, when I fly, I'm often flying to meet my wife somewhere who's already taken my bags. So I'll fly Frontier and pay nothing other than the seat cost. So I'm definitely like a loss leader for them. However, that's the exception, not the rule. Most people that fly have to pay at least one of those extra fees to get on their flight.
And you are still filling a seat, right?
They're still filling a seat.
Because when you look at the profit and loss statement of a low-cost carrier, I guess any airline carrier nowadays, then it is obviously like they earn money from extras, yeah. And when you just compare the airfares paid versus the flight cost, you usually come on zero. And if you manage to do so, then it's good. And the gross profit and the profit, they come from selling extras.
I think exactly, and it's I think that two other factors that can also come into place, and one is that what the price it's, I think you're always trying to achieve the prices are just below some certain, like below 200 euros or something like that. You try to keep the prices, because as soon as you go over certain limits like 200, 300, etc., it comes into another it's very often that you have already in advance agreed, okay, we will maximum spend this and that amount on this. It can also that you have to cut prices slightly to just keep under that price for different reasons, because as soon as you go up with 1, 2, 3 euros or dollars, suddenly you are above that line, and it's can come into also, because I think, as you no, I'm not understand. You said that when you're searching for flights, also you typically have you put into your search your maximum price, for instance, and if you happen to be just slightly over that, you are not in the search. You are not visible. So it's and typically you have a maximum price when you look for something, and that's also what you want to include in that price that we will come back to.
And then in general, this unbundling approach is just to motivate the customer to stay in, to purchase from you, not from the competitor, and to give them the option to not to pay for what they don't really need. However, when bundling together or collecting all these unbundled items, when you come over the certain price, it's not needed anymore for the airline, and they actually loop and they start offering you different packages, which is bundling again, right?
Yeah.
So, Kim, would you like to talk about examples from
Yes.
hotel industry?
Yes. We can broaden this also to other parts of the travel industry and to the living, the hotels, and the different kind of resorts, etc., etc. So what one should keep in mind when we move the discussion here is that a bit exactly the same as airline is that you only have a certain amount of sellable objects, and they are also in this case per night. There are only one Tuesday night. So the number of rooms to be sold on Tuesday night is only for Tuesday night. You cannot sell it for Monday or for Wednesday. You must take this into consideration. But on the bigger picture, what should see is also that different nights, we know, of course, that certain nights are more attractive than other ones, depending on what kind of hotel you are. If you're a business hotel, typically in most cases, if you're in the city, Tuesday, Wednesday are the top nights for business hotels. If you're more for the resort, etc., it's more the end of the week instead. And ideally, what you do want is to have the customer stay an extra night before or after, because that you both gain slightly more or something more on the room price itself, but also you have them in the house, and having them in the house can give the extra effect that they are going to restaurant or bar or doing something else inside. So these are how you try to also not only to price per night, but also to change their maybe initial idea of how many nights they should spend. And then we can look down to how you can split it out and how you can package it. It's one of the oldest ones was that several years ago, they started to include breakfast. This was from the concept of feeling that, okay, if we sell breakfast to everyone, we can basically raise the price. And since it's a buffet and we know that not everyone will be eating, we have like, yeah, there will be an extra win for us on that side to sell it, to increase the price from 100 euros to 110 and or 120, and that is including breakfast. This happened many years ago. What we see now is that we are slightly going back again, because specifically now after Corona, when we have less staff available, one finds easily out that the service part can create problems. So in a lot of examples now, hotels are going back to selling without breakfast, or a mixture of always including, or some included and some not included. It's much more of a discussion piece now, prices, how you do with the breakfast. Also, you can include in this is that when you have an included breakfast price, typically, let's say you're selling the room for 200 euros, including breakfast. That's a price that the guest will see. They will only see, in many cases, they just see the gross price of room and breakfast. But internally, there will, of course, be a split between the hotel room and how much of that money that ends up on the rooms division manager and how much goes to the F&B manager. And specifically in large hotels where you have a F&B manager in place, they will of course fight for their part of that split. I've seen many examples of where you see it more from the convenience of selling hotel rooms than the actual income for the F&B department. So this also makes it more, I shouldn't say complicated, but it's more of a discussion piece of how you should split between room and breakfast. The next one, of course, apart from how do you price a hotel, is location. Is of course one of the main ones, how you split. And of course, if you have a more a really good location next to an airport, next to or in city center at a really beautiful spot or something like that. And this is something that you, as fast as the hotel is there, you can't really change it. That is as it is. So what you can do is you can look at what what class of hotel you want to be, if you want to be a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star, etc. And of course, because you can charge more for a 4-star or a 5-star than a 3-star hotel. So this is in itself subject to see if I want to earn more per room per night is what class of hotel. The other one is, of course, included facilities. And this can be if you are a spa hotel, what you can offer from there. If you can also add in parkings or etc. etc. Then it can, on the other side, also be if you're in a city, you can have other different kind of taxes, etc. that you have to take into account. So this goes actually both ways. But let's look at the classes, because that's something, hotel class, that you can actually actively decide on if you want to be 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star hotel, for instance. And of course, a 5-star hotel will be having a higher price than a 3-star hotel. But also you should keep in mind that it is not just to say that, oh, we are 5-star hotels, we can raise the prices. It also comes with what you are expected to give. This is different between different countries. In Sweden, where I am, there are very specific rules of what you should have to be able to call your 5-star hotel. So you must have, for instance, you must have 24-hour room service. You must have luggage handling, staff available, etc., etc. So there are certain things that you must have. But still, there are a lot of things that are not really put down on paper, but many people expect from a 5-star hotel. So there are a lot still of flexibility in what you expect and what you actually find out. And this, we just had a discussion before we started on that have seen over the years more and more hotels wanting to be 5-star hotels, and they put their prices on this level. But I would see, having been in the business many, many years, I would not consider a lot of them to be true 5-star hotels. They look fancy, they have beautiful chandeliers and beautiful rooms and antiquities or modern architecture, something like that. But when you look at the actual service level, they're not there at all. So they are trying to, I would bluntly say, they are faking it a bit. They want to be 5-star and to have that price, but they're not really included what's there. So this is, you could say, this is another way of bundling. You're bundling things that are actually not there, because you're bundling the presence or the idea of that it's there, but it's not really there. You're selling it as a concept, but in reality, you have not included it. And sometimes you get away with it, and sometimes you don't. I just mentioned before we started that there is a discussion in the industry that the millennials that are traveling more now, they don't really always have the knowledge or the interest in the traditional understanding of what a 5-star hotel. They are more interested in that it should looking beautiful, looking good on their Instagram pictures, etc., compared to the full service part that you traditionally should see in a 5-star hotel. So we could also be that we are in the shift where this could actually make a difference in the long run.
So are you saying that like a 5-stars property, if you see the price, you would rather expect that this is a bundle price, and the lower you go on stars, the more typical it is to unbundle thing and you get to pay
yes,
for extras?
Exactly. In a 5-star experience or 5-star hotel, you basically see that more things should be there included in the price. That's how me, having been in the industry for a long time and seen hotels of that kind, I expect it. But I see more and more that, as I say, a lot of things in the end can be not there. We also seen other kind of concepts happening over the years that we discussed in advance, is that sometimes they make concepts where they're trying to force you into a behavior. We have a picture here of a fairly small rooms. I've seen hotel rooms where they deliberately, for instance, taken away, there are not any possibility, even if it's a double room, it's only one chair. There's maybe nowhere to sit and work. And I would think in many cases this is deliberately because they don't want you to be on your room because you are not to any use of the hotel. They want to have you down in the bar or the restaurant or that part of the hotel. So first they force you, not force, but they are encouraging you to go, not spending your time in the hotel room because there are not chairs enough. If you're sitting there, one have to sit on the bed and one on the chair. Also, I've seen many times that when you come down to the lobby, there are not always that many seats in the lobby area. Most of the seats are in the bar area. Because, of course, they want you to sit not in the lobby where you're not eating and drinking, but more in the restaurant instead, or in the bar, because then it's like, so you could say this is also kind of a bundling. You're bundling, or you're trying to do it by creating how you should move, how you should behave. I've even seen, at least in Europe, I've seen airports. I've clearly seen airports that there are absolutely no seating at all except in the restaurants, except at the gates. But if you're in the central airport, no possibility to sit down. So this is also a way of trying to force food and beverage purchase into just being there. So this is also a way of trying to force a bundling that was not there from the beginning.
I think the interesting point that you bring with your 5 stars discussion is that there are many unspoken standards for both hotels and airlines, actually, that from the old good times when everything was included in the fare and in the price, right? And there were certain expectations. So it was expected that if I fly with Lufthansa or British Airways, then of course I will have a seat and I can pick it up, and of course I can check in my luggage and get a drink as soon as I get on board, even if it's I don't know, if it's water, so I don't need to pay for that. And same as about 5 stars. And I think it's very interesting how it is changing, because you never know anymore, right? So the name or the class, it doesn't say anything anymore.
No, exactly. It doesn't always, and it, as I said, it's more not as clear of what you're paying for. It's not always very clear what is including and what. Yes, if it's a famous brand, like if you're staying in the Plaza in New York, you probably know it's the Plaza in New York, and then you know what you're paying for. You know it's the Plaza in New York. But if it's a hotel somewhere where you haven't been before, it's more you have to understand, okay, why this price? Why is the price this high? Is it due to the location? Is it due to the facilities there? Is it due to the high standard of service? Or what is the reason? Or is it because it's newly decorated, really exclusive? Or in some cases, it's none. It's just because they have found out that they can raise prices because they're really popular at the moment. This is also something that typically comes and goes. This is something you can do for a while if you're really popular. But these things, for different reasons, often wash away over time, and then you need to prove yourself once again why you are able to charge those prices.
I think on the interesting side is when you go to a roadside motel or to 2 stars property or bed and breakfast, you don't expect that this and this is included.
No.
Yeah,
No.
you're happy when they have it and you can pay for it. And the high class properties or services, they become a gray area. And
Exactly. And I'm a really terrible hotel guest because having been in the industry for long, I have quite high expectations if I stay in really good hotels. If I stay in a 4 and 5 star, what I do is that I do what you call a white glove inspection. So I like test the high surfaces if there are really a lot of dust up there, like on top of cupboards, etc. I would never do it in 3-star hotel, etc., like that, because I don't expect it to be perfect. But if a 5-star, actually, I stayed like a year ago in one of the 5-star hotels in London, and I, just as I always do, I just tested the top of the cupboard, and there were like nearly 1 centimeter of dust up there.
I
and
think
you
one of
don't
the
expect that. And because that goes with the expectation. It's not really with the hotel or the name, or it goes with the expectation of they want to be a 5-star hotel, and then you can't expect that to happen. If you're 3-star, I'm fine. It's a simple hotel.
Yeah.
But if you, so this is also why what is expected is so important to compare to your price.
And yet they need these extras to survive, to boost their bottom line, because there's a market and there is a certain level of price acceptance on the customer side. And if you go beyond that level of expectation, as you correctly mentioned, you will not even be in the search list, right? And so hotels, they do need these extras. And
But how you also see from the unbundling side is both with package tours set, of course, you're selling the total experience of the trip and the hotel room and everything. And in that package bundle price, it's not only the hotel and the flight itself, it's also that you're selling the knowledge of packaging together. So you have a good hotel in city center or close to the beach or whatever you're after. And it's a matching flight that goes at a good time and it have good connections. You end up at the spot at a decent time of day, etc., etc. So that's a bundling part of it. But what we see with these package tours, to start there, is that when they are not selling any longer, then they start to selling just the shares in the flight. Even if that is an airline that is specifically going with package tours, they at the end of or just before departure, they're starting to sell just the seats on board, like taken away without not selling with hotel rooms, but you can find that they are sold separately. And the same hotels are doing a bit sneakingly is that there is one OTA the site, for instance, that comes to mind called Secret Escape.
yeah.
And Secret Escape is what they are doing. They are selling exclusive hotels, but you don't know where you're booking, and you're not. No hotel is actually putting their name there because no one want to be known as selling the hotels more cheaply. So it's like you're saying, I want to go to London and I want to stay at a 5-star hotel, but you don't know where you end up. And the hotels in London, like the Savoy, etc., that are in that class, are not publicly saying that we are selling. At the end, when we realize we will have some surplus rooms for that night, they are like secretly selling it through these OTAs as a secret escape. So they don't want to be visible with what they're doing, but they still do it.
Then do you have any parallels in the airline or like other revenue management dependent industries about this gray area and customer expectations, like what's included, what's not included?
Well, one thing I really like that Kim hit on there was talking about the design thinking and how rooms are laid out to incentivize you to hit the other parts of the bundle. And you see that like when you pause and think about it, I don't know if any of you have ever wasted several minutes playing games on your phone, but if you download a game, it's usually free. It's some version of freemium, and there's all these nudges to pay for ancillary skins or whatever else in the game. And I think I'd never thought about this till Kim had brought it up when we did the pre-discussion about the design thinking to nudge people to spend more and how effective that can be. Thinking of hotels or thinking of games or in the airline industry, just thinking of seats, you're going to get a really crammed, really small middle seat if you don't do seat selection, unless you've never flown before. And so that's like an incentive in design thinking into moving into a larger seat and how you may not realize that you're being nudged to spend more at a lot of these places, but it's as like hotels or restaurants or airlines or anyone can nudge people for these ancillary products, that's where they can really capture a lot of revenue. In my industry now, what I do when I sell someone a new air conditioner or a new furnace, an ancillary product I can add on that takes me no time, but can bring in a lot more revenue is air quality equipment. So things, if you're in a dry area to humidify, or if you're in a moist area to dehumidify, which improves quality of air, reduces allergies and things of that nature. So as you have the opportunity to nudge these things and they go out, that's where you really capture more revenue. which kind of dovetails in good to the risks of doing this. So the package price often comes out to be like if you're buying a bundle, usually you want to communicate some deals, so you may have your other prices. I think the best example was the one with the hamburger, fries, and drink, where if you bought them individually, they would be more. But now as you see unbundling, as you add those products up and you're buying them all, it may be more than it would have been had you just bought it. I think in airlines, the best example of this I can think of is Southwest Airlines versus pretty much any other carrier in the US. If you're flying on Southwest, you kind of have seat selection, but you always have 2 bags free, which in any other airline is at least $100 value on a round trip ticket. And usually their costs are less than $100 different than their competitors. But because they haven't unbundled it, you may not see that, and you may choose the lower seat cost and then end up having to pay for your bags and end up paying more than you would have had you bought the bundled price. So I think that's one risk from a consumer standpoint, like what they kind of run into. And one on the business side is if you are selling bundled products, you may not appear as competitive as you actually are, and you may be undervaluing some of the services that you offer. I think one thing that you also run into is if you're in a B2B environment, bundles work out a little bit better than parsed out pricing, because oftentimes in a B2B environment, there's someone on the other end of the table who's doing sourcing or purchasing who has a pretty good idea of your input costs. And you don't necessarily want to give them more information to that than you have to. So a great example for me, when I'm doing a large commercial job, I just give them, this is the cost for the job. What a lot of people will come back to me and say is, okay, what's the cost for materials and cost for the labor? Knowing that I mark up my materials. And so you want to avoid showing your material costs as much as possible on B2B transactions, because then they're going to hold that to you. Or sometimes what will happen is they'll say, okay, well, I can get these materials at this place cheaper. Can you just get them there? In which case you lose your markup on that. So I think it takes a little bit of I guess, knowing your industry of when to bundle and when not to bundle. And then you also have different levels of customer knowledge. One thing Kim mentioned was when he's talking about the travel packages, you're paying for someone's expertise. And if someone's put a bundle together for you as a customer, there's probably a reason why that bundle exists, why those are packaged that certain way, and saving you time. So really, when you're building a bundle, you're lowering search costs for your consumers. And so the value to that, if it's more convenience driven rather than price driven, is that customers who care about convenience will default to your option over customers who are more price sensitive. If we go into like interdepartmental treatments over bundle pricing, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because the customer on the airline was brought onto the airline to fill that seat. They weren't brought onto that airline to buy that bag of chips. And so as you split that cost, how you look at it, what portion of it goes where, becomes a little bit more tricky. I don't know if Kim or Organa, you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, for instance, for the airlines, you always have the airport tax, and it can be that just to bring you in on the flight and let you pay for bags and sandwich or whatever, you're flying nearly for free generally, because what you pay for the ticket, the part goes to the airport tax and fees, right? Which customers actually unaware about. But I guess that the most the highest manifestation and this conflict is the hotel. Especially, I used to teach controlling in the hotel industry this semester, and when the students did a budget, and they actually budget separately for rooms division, they budget separately for F&B department, and separately for like amenities like spa, parking, and stuff like that. So what's happening is when we sell rooms with breakfast included as a kind of natural discount, is that the costs are going to sit on the F&B department, the cost for cooks, for serfs, for the food, yeah, but the revenue goes then to rooms department. And I think that and generally Kim can tell a nice story. What does it mean in real life? Yeah.
Yeah, this I think this is in as soon as you are bundling different parts that are including other in some case different departments of the hotel. As I said, with breakfast, it can also be like it's including um, excursions or boat rides or something else that you are bundling together. And each time you need to have, yes, you want to find that optimal price that you can sell, and then you often end up in a situation that it's either you have to make the discount on the room side, or you have to convince your partners that they should take a cut on their side. Because it's somewhere, if you make a discount, it either goes on your own side, and typically the largest portion, if we go back to hotel where I have most of my expertise, is that yes, it's the room part that you have to make the discount on. Then you have, of course, find out what's my minimum. I can't go below that because then it's not worth it any longer. That's it can, in some cases, it can even be discussed from there, because it's still better to have the hotel full or have people there than not having that. Because, and this is the big part of how you think about what the bundle is worth, because it's of course, it means that not only that you include the things to make a nice bundle, but also that it makes the appeal of the total offer so good, so people maybe that wouldn't have considered coming to you otherwise still do it. And then you can have the benefit of having them in your establishment and convincing them going to the bar or doing something else that you have extra sales on. So it means that the bundle can not only be used for selling what's included, but also make the total offer so attractive. So it really goes two ways here. Yeah, no, that's what came to mind on that. Then also I had the other example. It's very close to what Dan already discussed, that I some time ago I should book a ticket between London and Berlin, finding out that British Airways was really expensive. And then I found out after Googling that, of course, I could find a really good ticket with Ryanair. But as if anyone have done a reservation with Ryanair, you find out there are so many pages with extra. So the start price was fantastic, but absolutely everything was extra. I think it was, I'm not exaggerating if it was like 8 pages that you have to go through with finding out that absolutely everything is extra. I think it's even in the end, if you're paying by credit card, that cost extra.
Exactly.
So it's everything. And in the end, I found out that it was basically back to the price with British Airways, that for my reason then, because I was closer to Heathrow, was more convenient. And suddenly the price difference was not that large. So yes, with unbundling, you can create a really nice, attractive, low price. But if it still adds up so much in the end, because we are not stupid. We still, of course, find out after those 8 pages of extras, we find, oh dear, okay, it wasn't that cheap any longer. So it's, you can, to a certain extent, you can fool the buyer by manipulating the price, but it's still very obvious, of course, if it's that cheap, or if you're just trying to look cheap like that.
Yet I think an important point here is what you so nicely mentioned in the beginning of your discussion is, do I really have the knowledge what the British Airways product is? Because we have flights to Italy, we do have a lot of Gastarbeiter, like guest workers from Italy here in Germany, especially in Berlin. I don't know why, large cities. So these flights going to various cities in Italy, they are crammed with students, with young people, Italians and Germans, that literally travel with a plastic bag. And I know they do pay 12 euros, 18 euros, which is cheaper than a bus. I think you can only walk for 18 euros. Still, you will pay some money for toilet and coffee on the way. So you can still fly. And The question is, if I'm young and this is all I know, like EasyJet or Ryanair, and can I when I put together this bundle, because today I do need luggage, I do need this and that, and can I, if I don't have the knowledge of what does it mean to fly with legacy airline, what kind of experience do I get? Maybe I would never be attracted by this package price as well. And I think what speaks to younger generations a lot is this customization, that I can drive my own experience myself and put it together and manage it, and it is not set by someone else. So this is and these are the future customers, actually, and especially with this gray area of the legacy services that used to be the way we remember them, but it's not necessarily the case anymore. So there's a lot of I don't know, thinking about that. And this interdepartmental treatments that we talked about, this is back of the house. Yeah, this is already accounting treatments. We just had a discussion like yesterday about cruise lines that, for example, on board, all the vast majority, like 80% of drinks that are ordered on board, they are treated as cost, and bar are not profit centers, they are revenue centers. Oh, I'm sorry, they are cost centers. And why? Because the cruise lines, they motivate people to pre-order as much as possible. First of all, in anticipation of a cruise, they are more in spending friendly mode, yeah. And this is actually eases the operation when you know how many people prepaid and pre-booked. Yeah, it's not only logistics on board, but also you can plan better your procurement and stock. And when they do pre-order drink package, then it goes to revenue, to ticket revenue. Yeah. So, and generally the F&B manager is not producing revenue. It's very few. And I think the aspect that we didn't discuss is the motivation, because we expect our F&B people to do their best. And in the end, it's very hard to evaluate, did they really do good or not? Because we are so keen on revenue growth and profitability. And so how to measure that? So I think this is something that one should consider when you're aggressive on bundling and packages. So how will you treat it?
So someone told me also, if you specifically, if we talk about packages for like ski resorts or anywhere where, or could be boats, anywhere where you are like locked into your to your destination, you can't really move. So another way, if you are selling everything like with food packages and everything in advance, and this is typically done more than a month in advance, it's like 2 months or something like that in advance. So then you have paid everything, and before you come there, you have got salaries once or twice again, and that means that the pain, if you call it the pain of paying, is already gone because you have new money. So when you come there, the pain of what it costed, it's gone, and now you have a fresh wallet of new money with you, and you're more likely to buy anything more, because if if you knew that at the end of this day I need to pay everything, then you will be or more reluctant to pay even more, do even more, because I know I need to pay this 1,000 euros at the end or 2,000 euros at the end. But if I did that in advance, that pain is gone, and then I'm more likely to purchase even more when arriving at the destination.
I think it's a good lens to look at the customer side, and perhaps firms must reevaluate their performance measurement approaches. Yeah, in this situation, if we tend to bundle, then we've got to see the whole team working in a resort or hotel or on board as a team, and we all like work for one result, and without separating, this is the performance of F&B and this is the performance of rooms or entertainment. which does not solve the question what accountants shall do and how to treat the budget, how to track the budget, and all right.
I think one of the more interesting issues you run into at airlines is like the most basic bundle you're buying on an airline is point A to point B, but usually there's a connection. And so when you're thinking about it from a cost standpoint, which flight are you giving more value to? Are you giving more value on the Albuquerque to Dallas leg or the Dallas to London leg? Well, one of them has more miles. And so the way a lot of airlines historically have split this up is just by the miles of each leg. But the revenue generated from the shorter legs is often greater proportionally than the revenue generated from the longer legs. And so there's a bunch of different ways. When I was working in the revenue management department, we redid kind of the way we thought of how much value each leg brings to the cost of the airline. And so from a revenue standpoint, it was saying, okay, whichever one of these is the higher bucket, we'll give it at that fair price. But as a customer, you would know no difference. But then when you come to the accounting side, that's not how accounting looks at it. So your route may not look very profitable because it's feeding a larger route that is getting a disproportionate share of the revenue compared to what it actually brings in.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot to think for accountants.
Yeah. Another last example from my side, totally different, not from the hotel side, but where I'm actually working now, selling software to hotels. I'm still in the hospitality industry, but on the other side, on the vendor side. So we are selling software, and nowadays you always sell software as a SaaS module, meaning software as a service, meaning that you don't purchase anything, you're paying like regular price per month. And these prices are, if you talk of the so-called property management system, the reservation system for the hotel, these prices are typically always set at per room and month. And these are prices. A problem I found out lately, being in this industry for a while, is that we are competing with the other vendors, our competitors on the market, on bundled price. And let's for argument's sake say that it's 10 euro a room a night. The thing is, and so this is what the hotels are looking at when they are looking at the different vendors, if you are interested in changing their PMS system, for instance. The problem is that these bundles can really be extremely different.
Yes.
And it can be really difficult to see what's in that bundle. And we have found out lately that these prices can really backfire. And the more you're trying to put into the bundle, the more it backfires, because your competitors in some cases are like stripping the prices slightly, but they have a lot of sides on or extras on the side that is not really visible. And in the process, in the RFI process of request for information, etc., that you do, is that to understand what is really included. And it's not really, even if you're on the inside like me, it can be difficult to see exactly for the customer how much of this, how many interfaces are included. Are they unlimited? Are there just 5? Or in some, yes, it is included, and maybe the customer, yes, it's included. But on the side, there was a service charge that was not really very visible. You found that on page 18 on the contract. That yes, the interface was included for free, but the service charge was on the side, just to give one smaller. And this is really the situation, because what should be a really simple bundled price is in the end really complicated, and it can really backfire if you don't do it in the right way, and if you can't easily communicate during the process, you can really end up on the wrong side, even if you try to make the price as attractive as possible for the customer.
Well, from the back of the house, perhaps it's a great sentence to wrap up this discussion. What the salespeople say: give the customer what makes them happy, but doesn't cost you anything. Like the Coke in McDonald's, that doesn't cost you much, but makes the customer happy because it's, I don't know, $4 on your price list. And same as with the software product, like give them something that doesn't cost you anything or not much, but sounds like a lot of value. And yeah, it's always this front of the house and back of the house. So we
Yeah.
have 10 minutes left, and we would be happy to hear from the audience and perhaps pick up questions or just share your ideas and insights if we could raise any thinking in your brains.
That's been a great discussion, and we do have a couple questions. So let me share those with the panel. First of all, is that many of these considerations are based on operational capacity or behavioral analysis. Do you know if some of these decisions are later analyzed from a revenue and cost perspective?
Who want to answer on that?
I feel so. If I'm understanding the question correctly, it's that there's like the bundles are in consideration with operations, and if they are then gone back and analyzed later, and I would say that's like most certainly true. Initially, like a decision's made, but I don't think I've ever worked at an organization where we've made a decision, be like, yep, that's good. Usually there's some sort of metric for if it was successful or not. Especially if the person who made the decision is trying to get promoted, they're going to have to show impact. So I think it's always measured, and I think when you make a decision to bundle or unbundle, you need to have a way to measure it. A great example from the airline industry was I worked at an airline where at one point in time before I got there, they decided to try and charge for the beverage and the water. This was years ago before ULCCs had entered the space, and they tried it and it backfired terribly. Customers were mad. It was, and they were seeing that the bad press was actually negatively impacting their bookings. And so the decision was to pull back and then offer drinks for free again.
I agree, and I think exactly as you said. It's specifically you see it very clearly in specifically the airline industry, and to take coming back to my example of Ryanair, they have changed their ways of adding things several times because yes, sometimes they've gone too far, and it's clear that already after a couple of weeks or months they found out this really backfired. It created a lot of frustrations. I think yes, as soon as you change something in what you bundle or put on the side for extra sale, you are evaluating it quite quickly. And I think it's always the case. It's basically happening because you see if sales are going up, the bundle worked well, or if sales going down and you have more complaints, sales going down, and then you quite quickly start to evaluate what happened here. And it's if not directly, if it's not that visible, you're absolutely at least once a year or something looking back at last season. How was that one compared to before we changed our bundling or our pricing structure or something like that?
We generally, what we did in food service is that if we introduced a kind of bundle, like a package, then in the first week we were looking at that very precisely, like how people perceive it, if they are actually attracted by the offer or not. This is like the number one criteria. And then on a little bit a longer run, but still on the short term, like a month, of course, we try to evaluate like what kind of resources did we invest to be able to sustain and offer this bundle. Did we gain anything on the other side, like negotiation power with our suppliers, or, did it create problem? Did this bundle create problem, or did it create an opportunity? And then, of course, after this more or less short, long period, we looked at, so how many of them did we sell? Does it really make sense? So if it's not becoming like a sales driver, and doesn't matter is it volume or margin. So if the impact is not considerable, then we would discontinue this offer and look at the other one. Because
I think sorry. No, I can just add that if we look at things that are sold online, we always measure two things. We measure the number of clicks, meaning how attractive was that original price compared to how many purchases or how many went to the next step of it. Because if there's too large of a difference, or if it's changing, when you change price and the number of clicks maybe goes up because it sounded better, so it attracted people on the click, but still you don't have any more purchases, you didn't really succeed with that change of price and that change of bundle, because yes, it attracted at step 1, but at step 2, no, it did not attract anyone more to do the purchase.
Great. We have time for one last question, and it's more of a comment, but it's very much related to the topic of this session. So I'll read it, and maybe you can just share some thoughts on it. It is, in manufacturing, some manufacturers are converting their products into a service by offering maintenance, improved performance, and advanced data analytics on their product. One example is valve manufacturers for manufacturing facilities that do refining, distilling, and other liquid chemical processing. So it's a comment regarding manufacturers converting their products into a service, I guess in a sense bundling what they offer their customers.
I think we see a lot of this. One of the clearest example I've seen is that also the car manufacturers, they don't want to sell the cars any longer. They want you to rent it, including services.
Yeah.
And at least I know that some of the main brands in Germany, like Mercedes and Audi and BMW, they are like putting a lot of things that typically was a part of the car is now a purchase or something that you need to pay for every month, like to connect your smartphone to it. There even was, but that was an outcry when they tried to make heating in the seat should be something that you should pay for monthly to have. So
That
they're
was
really,
even
but
something on the performance of your engine, like
yeah,
after
yeah,
the
but it exactly. You can have like the car is like exactly, you can have extra power on it if you pay something extra. So I think this is to my ears still a bit strange, but it's clearly coming that you go from selling a car to making the car a service.
But
I think
yeah, I'm sorry, then go ahead.
I think one of the large motivating factors of this, I do this in my business when I sell someone a new HVAC system, I then sell them a service plan. And the reason you do that is because that monthly reoccurring revenue is often looked at when you're going to raise capital. So whether you're going to maybe sell more stock or you're going to do whatever you do, like raise debt, you show that recurring revenue, and that's solid and that's steady and that's consistent. Whereas, sales of a big ticket item like a car or a major appliance like an air conditioner aren't always consistent. And so I think one of the reasons companies are moving in this direction is that it raises their valuation and will improve their stock performance.
That's a very good point. Very
Yep, I agree.
point.
Yep.
Yeah. Because what I was going to say is that again we loop to this discussion about the gray area, like we on certain age we have certain expectations. Yeah, I buy a car and I expect there will be some warranty and service and whatsoever included, and it's not the case anymore. That's one thing. And younger people that don't have this experience, actually they take it as granted and as a norm. That's on one side, and on the other hand, I don't know, the servitization is a huge trend that develops, and it's all about customer experiences. So maybe the manufacturers, they want to be in the experience business as well, not only leisure and travel and service industries, right? But this is how you get loyal customers, if you gave them a great experience.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're right on time. Excellent work on part of the panel, and thanks for the answers to those questions. They were certainly right on. And with that, I think we'll conclude today's revenue management interest group session. And I want to remind everyone that PACE is having its conference in June, and if you're I encourage you to find out more on our website and to register to attend. Everyone else have a great day.
Hey.
Thanks everyone to having
Thank
us.
you,
Thanks.
everyone. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.